When Zarathustra was 30 years old, he left his home and the lake of his home, and went into the mountains. There he enjoyed his spirit and solitude, and for 10 years did not weary of it. But at last his heart changed, and rising one morning with the rosy dawn, he went before the sun and spake thus unto it: Thou great star, what would be thy happiness if thou hadst not those for whom thou shinest? For 10 years hast thou climbed hither unto my cave. Thou wouldst have wearied of thy light and of the journey, had it not been for me, mine eagle and my serpents. But we awaited thee every morning, took from thee thine overflow, and blessed thee for it. Lo, I am weary of my wisdom. Like the bee that hath gathered too much honey, I need hands outstretched to take it. I would fain bestow and distribute, until the wise have once more become joyous in their folly, and the poor happy in their riches. Therefore I must descend into the deep, as thou dost in the evening, when thou goest behind the sea, and givest light also to the netherworld, thou exuberant star. Like thee must I go down, as men say, to whom I shall descend. Bless me, then, thou tranquil eye, that canst behold even the greatest happiness without envy. Bless the cup that is about to overflow, that the water may flow golden out of it, and carry everywhere the reflection of thy bliss. Lo, this cup is again going to empty itself, and Zarathustra is going to be a man. Thus began Zarathustra's downgoing.
Those are the very first lines of Friedrich Nietzsche's most famous book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And as you may understand, this book is not written in a typical philosophical style, because Nietzsche by this time wanted to usher in a new age of philosophy. So this book will be the subject of today, and I'm here by the lake where Nietzsche liked to take his walks.
This book is filled with symbols, odd stories, and parables, like an eagle being friend with a snake, or a dwarf with an enormous ear. So there certainly are many ways to interpret this book, but I'll try to give you my best own interpretation.
Well, at least for me, the first question that popped into my head when I read the book for the first time was, why the name Zarathustra? I mean, it's a pretty odd name. And why didn't he just use his own name? Well, to answer that question, we need to go further back in time than ancient Greece.
Zarathustra, or Zoroaster, was a poet and philosopher who lived around the 12th century BC in the eastern part of present-day Iran. He later became the prophet of a religion which is still practiced today, Zoroastrianism, and it is one of the oldest continuously practiced organized religions that exists. According to the tradition, Zarathustra appeared at the age of 30 proclaiming a new philosophy in which he had received from the god Ahura Mazda. Zoroastrianism is sometimes also referred to Mazdaism. What Zarathustra proclaimed was something radical and new in Iran at the time. According to the religion, the god Ahura Mazda was in a constant cosmic battle with Ahriman. Basically, you can see them as two separate entities, as chaos and order, light and dark, good and evil. And us humans are very much a part of this cosmic battle. According to the religion, humans have freedom of will and always have a choice to choose either good or evil. People have never asked me, as they should have done, what the name of Zarathustra precisely meant in my mouth, in the mouth of the first immoralist, for that which distinguishes this person from all others in the past is the very fact that he was the exact reverse of an immoralist. Zarathustra was the first to see in the struggle between good and evil the essential wheel in the working of things. The translation of morality into the realm of metaphysics as force, cause, end in itself is his work. The overcoming of morality by itself, though truthfulness, the moralist's overcoming of himself in his opposite, in me. That is what the name Zarathustra means in my mouth.
So Nietzsche is only using the name Zarathustra in order to end the circle of morality. The one who created the concepts of good and evil should be the one that destroys it as well. Because for Nietzsche, the concept of good and evil should never have come into being.
So now Nietzsche's Zarathustra walked down from the mountain to give humanity all the wisdom which he had obtained from his 10 years of solitude. He stumbles upon a village where people had gathered to see a rope dancer, and Zarathustra takes the opportunity to share his wisdom with the people. And Zarathustra spake thus unto the people: I teach you the Overman. Man is something that is to be surpassed. What have ye done to surpass man? All beings hitherto have created something beyond themselves, and ye want to be the ebb of that great tide, and would rather go back to the beast than surpass man.
The idea of the Overman is probably Nietzsche's most interesting and most dangerous idea. Some people theorize that you can become an Overman through thoughts and actions. And some people believe that it really is the next phase in human evolution. What is ape to man? A laughingstock, a thing of shame. And the same shall man be to the Overman, a laughingstock, a thing of shame. Interpret that as you see fit. If you just read that line by itself, you would certainly think that he's talking about evolution. But when you read the whole text of Zarathustra, it's almost like it is a guidebook in becoming the Overman, or at least becoming a bridge for the Overman to cross over. But what I want you to know is, by the time this book was published, the theory of evolution was very new. And Nietzsche would say that it is stupid to think that humans, as they are in this current situation, is an end station.
We need to make a distinction here in Nietzsche's philosophy. The difference between a philosophy of being and a philosophy of becoming. Throughout the ages after Plato, the West have been based upon a philosophy of being. It is the belief that there is fixed objects that we can count and measure.
For instance, the whole of arithmetic is based upon their existing identical things. For instance, if I would say 1 mountain plus 1 mountain equals 2 mountains. But I mean, these mountains aren't identical in the slightest. We have only put them in the same category because it suits us, and the category is man-made.
Nietzsche have a very different take on the world than seeing everything as different beings. To him, everything is constantly in a state of flux and changing, much like the ancient philosopher Heraclitus. One man cannot step in the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man. What he's saying is that everything is moving and changing. For instance, every cell in my body has been changed multiple times since my birth. I am far from the same person I was only 10 years ago, and the same is with everything else.
And here's the whole problem, because to Nietzsche, man is not a fixed object. He is constantly moving forward. And right now, most men are engaged in some kind of metaphysical activity like religion. And if one man would be born that doesn't need religion, he would not be part of mankind anymore. So man is not a fixed object, he's constantly changing. For instance, Nietzsche have, much like Kierkegaard, theorized about 3 different stages in a man's life. And here I've made a sequence to explain it.
Three metamorphoses of the spirit I name for you, with heavy steps, walking through his self-created desert. The spirit takes the form of a camel. It kneels down and wants to be well loaded. What is heaviest, you heroes? Thus asks the carrying spirit, so that he might take it upon himself and rejoice in his strength. Willingly and without question, he accepts the heaviest of burdens given to him by society. Morals and virtues. Do this, do that. I will, replies the camel. Happily he carries on through a never-ending desert, all the way to his grave. But for some, in the loneliest of deserts, the spirit may take a second form, the form of the lion. The lion seeks to become master of his own desert. Here he seeks his last master and wants to fight him and his last god. For victory, he wants to battle the great dragon. The values of millennia gleam on these scales, and thus speaks the most powerful of all dragons, the value of all things. It gleams in me. Who is the great dragon whom the spirit no longer wants to call master and god? Thou shalt is the name of the great dragon. For the spirit of the lion says, I will. But the spirit of the lion will never suffice. After he has slain the dragon, he becomes the nihilist par excellence. He has killed off all his former values, and he will stumble through the desert aimlessly. Even the mission of killing the dragon is gone. But there is a pillar of hope if he wills to enter the last stage of the spirits, the stage of the child. The child is innocence and forgetting, a new beginning, a game, a wheel rolling out of itself, a first movement, a sacred yes saying. Yes, for the game of creation, my brothers, a sacred yes saying is required. The spirit wants its will. The one lost to the world now wins its own world. 3 metamorphoses of the spirit I named for you. How the spirit became a camel, and the camel a lion, and finally the lion a child.
Do you remember the seriousness you had when you were playing as a child? Nietzsche wants us to reclaim that as adults, because play and creativeness is at the very heart of Nietzsche's philosophy.
But also for Friedrich, the one who creates must also have been a lion before he creates, a destroyer. So whenever one creates anything, something must have been destroyed in the process. It resembles very much the Indian god Shiva, who was the god of both destruction and creation.
According to Nietzsche's autobiography, at this very rock, the grandest of ideas came to him, an idea that would be the cornerstone of his whole philosophy of the yes-saying man, the affirmation of life, and it is the eternal recurrence.
What if some day or night a demon were to steal after you into your loneliest loneliness and say to you, this life, as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh and everything unutterably small or great in your life will have to return to you, and in the same succession and sequence. Even this spider and this moonlight between the trees, and even this moment and I myself. The eternal hourglass of existence is turned upside down again and again, and you with it, speck of dust. Would you not throw yourself down and gnash your teeth and curse the demon who spoke thus? Or have you once experienced a tremendous moment when you would have answered him, "You are a god, and never have I heard anything more divine"? If this thought gained possession of you, it would change you as you are, or perhaps crush you. The question in each and everything, do you desire this once more and innumerable times more, would lie upon your action as the greatest weight? Or how well disposed would you have to be? Come to yourself and to life to crave nothing more fervently than this ultimate, eternal confirmation and seal.
This is the metaphysical structure of the Overman and the Dionysian. I think Nietzsche probably wouldn't say that it is true in any sense, but it is something that will make you affirm life, because if this life is the only thing there is, maybe you won't waste it.
So what kind of moral or guidance can we extract from this new metaphysical structure that Nietzsche is proposing? Well, the important part is the idea that this life, the life that you're living at this very moment, is the only thing that exists. There is no real world like heaven that you will end up in if you act morally in this life. This life is the only thing there is, so if you believe this idea, which is just as arbitrary as the Christian God, maybe you won't spend your entire life as a monk praying and meditating, because you will spend an eternity praying over and over and over and over again.
Nietzsche wants you to affirm life just as it is, with all its pain and suffering. You should embrace pain as though it were your best friend, because if you get through it, it will make you stronger, and it will make you become the best possible version of yourself. Amor fati, love thy fate. That's it for today, everyone. In the next episode, we will continue analyzing the Overman. But until then, take care, everybody.